letting other people help pay. As soon as that happens, they take over the wedding. Guest list, decor, cake, everything. Edit. Wow, this post blew up. Uncle offered to pay for the limo. Great. But it turned out to be this busted 1980s limo with a spider-webbed window and no hubcaps. What looked like a homeless driver. We called an Uber. In-laws offered to pay for half of the catering, which is how our guest list was 70 people, but 200 plus showed up. Would have been fine if they would have told us so we could adjust catering, but no. And then we had to order pizza for the rest. People we actually wanted there were eating ducking pizza on dusty tables. Other uncle offered to pay for airfare for the honeymoon, which is how 18-day trip turned into 12 days because that was the cheapest ticket. But we didn't have enough because of all the completely unexpected guests. All we wanted was a smallish celebration with 75 people, and to have an awesome wedding. But we wound up with a big celebration that was kind of mediocre and really stressful, which would have took 2 hours, which caused an argument. Maybe your families aren't that type, but I wish we had just did our own thing and not accepted any help. My number one regret is telling people not to take pictures. I know it sounds dumb, but it is much worse than that. In our agreement with our photographer, she told us that other cameras were not allowed as the flash from another camera could ruin our pictures. So we politely told people to refrain from taking pictures and explained the situation. A few weeks after we tried contacting her for the photos, we got ghosted. We tried for about a year to track her down. We were still willing to pay for the photos, even unedited. Fortunately, some people didn't get the message, so we have a few 10 to 20 photos from our wedding. The worst part was that someone had contacted my wife through FB 2 weeks before the wedding, warning us about her, but we decided to take the risk because there probably was no way to get another photographer in that kind of time. When she showed for the date, we were relieved and thought we dodged a bullet. I've been married for 16 years now, so this is a little old school. We bought a bunch of disposable cameras and set them all over the place at our reception with a note on them that said take some pictures. At the end of the night, we collected all the cameras and had the film developed. Most of them turned out really cool, and we got some pictures we would have never thought of taking. Lol. I'm guessing a lot of people getting married today could just set up an Instagram account and just have everyone upload self-pics to it. Not preparing a speech. I thought I'd just go up, thank everyone for coming, and sit back down. Short and sweet, get it out the way. That's exactly what I did, without mentioning my parents or my wife. Inviting 75% of the people, most of them I never see and are not involved in our lives, would have rather spent the same amount of money on 25% of the people and had one hell of a high-end party. Not paying attention to the photographer more. We gave him a list of things he needed to shoot for portraits, and he forgot to get a picture of me, my wife, and my parents. Inviting people I didn't really want to invite. They just cost you money. You don't interact with them at all, and they usually don't bring a nice gift to make up for it. Except for letting all of the divorced aunts and uncles bring plus ones, because that led to a whole jealousy competition train that was extremely entertaining. Letting my mother-in-law have any say in anything. She ruined the food. I regret the coordinator they gave us for the ceremony. Dude got flustered and started second-guessing everything right before the ceremony. Like he somehow forgot how a wedding works at the last moment, when all of our guests were there. OMG, what song do you want to play while she walks down the aisle? The wedding song. The one we already told you to play. I ended up taking charge and sorting everything out. Really wish I could have just gone with the flow on my big day. Not taking a picture. We just did a quick wedding for legal purposes with my friend presiding and aunt and uncle as witnesses. It was a nice little sweet ceremony that lasted about 10 minutes over a nice area with a view. Before we went to dinner. Didn't realize we hadn't taken any pictures until like a week later when we wanted to show someone. Having an outdoor wedding in August in South Carolina. Timing necessitated it. Otherwise I loved my wedding and love my wife. Not paying for a cleaning company at my venue. My wife and wedding party had to still 2 hours later to clean up to get our deposit back. Edit. Holy hell, this kind of blew up. To go in a little further, me and my wife got married through a venue company that owned a few venues throughout the area. This one happened to be a restored barn. The company allowed us to either pay a $400 or something. It was a few years ago. Cleaning deposit or to pay a $200 or something cleaning fee. To save more money for the honeymoon, we choose deposit, and us and the wedding party stayed a 2 hours later to clean up the venue. I don't know if this was a US thing, only really looked at the one venue and my wife fell in love with it. The $200 cleaning fee was so they could pay another company to clean. Not hiring a photographer. We thought we'd save money and just ask friends to take lots of pictures. They took some, but I have maybe 5 pictures worth looking at. No pictures of the cake or table settings. The only decent pic of my husband and I has our flower girl in it. She's sweet and I love her, but it looks like she's our kid. Every time people see the photo they're like, I didn't know you had an older child. Hire a photographer, people. The preacher started coaching me on what's next as my gorgeous bride-to-be was walking down the aisle. I did not get to take in what was the most beautiful woman I ever saw walk down the aisle because I was trying to pay attention to what he was saying. Renting a nice room in a fancy hotel. And then expecting to have sex when we were both just absolutely ducking exhausted. Don't get me wrong, my wedding day was possibly the best day of my entire life. But it would have been just the teensiest bit better if we'd gotten some charming bed and breakfast. And not forced ourselves to have tired sex at like 1 in the morning. Turns out fancy-ass hotel rooms are basically just like a clean version of non-fancy-ass hotel rooms. Not that my poor ass would have known that beforehand. Paper invitations in RSVPs. Set up a wedding site and have people RSVP there. The amount of stress I put myself through trying to get paper mailed back to me in an era when no one uses mail anymore was so unnecessary. At one point we'd gotten very few RSVPs back and I had a total crying meltdown about how no one was going to come. Save yourself the headache and the money. It's my biggest wedding regret. Not hiring an Elvis impersonator. Flew all the way to Vegas to get married, didn't get Elvis. Oh well. Edit. Well, stuff. This blew up. FYI, for those wanting to elope to Vegas, it is super fun and I would not talk anyone out of it. I will say that we were married at the Luxor Chapel, which was very nice and the officiant was really great. We would have had to go find our own Elvis officiant, hired them, and then paid the chapel to use the room. so it didn't make sense. By the way, you can have an amazing time in Vegas without spending a ton of money. We can finally afford to get her a dress and a venue and all that, so that's what we'd like to do. We're at 2 years now.